Hi, folks. Welcome to evening prayer with the people of Trinity United Church in Prince George, British Columbia. Every evening, Monday to Thursday, at 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, we join together for prayer, an opportunity to ground ourselves in different Christian spiritual practices, naming the challenges and affirmations of the day, the things going on in the news, in our own lives, in our communities. To ground all of that in holy mystery and held in the crucible of God's love, shaped by each one of us. And so, welcome to the restart of evening prayer as summer begins to wane and fall looms ever closer. I want to start this session together by naming something that happened yesterday on Sunday. By now, I would hope everyone knows that our current Prime Minister went to visit the Governor General, and a writ was dropped calling us to engage in time of reflection and discernment of a federal election, leading us all to the polls no later than September 20th, 2021. It's an interesting opportunity in many ways to gather together and reflect on what it means as Christian people to engage in an electoral process, to discern which candidate really reflects our values as a Christian community. Look at the issues, ponder the implications, which ones align with the gospel, which ones don't, which ones are close but still not close enough, which ones just don't seem to get it, who's going to run what kind of campaign. I've often said to elected people after elections and to candidates before elections that if you want my vote, it's not enough to degrade the other person. That actually turns me off completely and makes me go look for other options. I don't need you to poke fun at somebody. I don't need you to make bad artistic ads that make somebody look like a crybaby or a whiner. I don't need you to vilify the other person. I want you to offer me a sense of hope, a sense of direction, a sense of leadership. What will you do if you're elected? How will you make Canada even better with your policies? It's not enough for you to tell me, let's make Canada great again. I already think Canada is great. I think it's one of the greatest places to live. That doesn't mean we don't have challenges. We absolutely do. And this summer, if nothing else, has highlighted the challenge of how we shift into right relationship with Canada's Indigenous and Métis people. But don't tell me Canada needs to be made great. It already is. Tell me how you're going to help us more fully live into that potential. Tell me how we're going to make sure that nobody gets left behind. Tell me how we're going to transition into right relationship. Tell me how we're going to take serious, meaningful, immediate action about the environment and the things that are happening, and the call from the United Nations that if we don't do something right now, while we can still make a difference, the record temperatures in Italy this past week, the fires that are burning in British Columbia and up and down the western coast of the United States, that's nothing compared to what's coming. The heat wave that we saw here in British Columbia back in June that literally boiled mussels in the ocean and killed them is nothing compared to what's coming. Tell me how we're going to shift from our incredible dependency on fossil fuels to something that does less damage, ideally no damage, to the environment, and yet still enables us to do all of the things that we need to do. Tell me how you're going to continue to manage the global pandemic we're still in. How you're going to address this fourth wave and the Delta variant and the Lambda variant and the variants that are all going to come after this. Help me understand the kind of Canada you believe will benefit everyone, will lift everyone up, not just some people up. Because the folks that are going to feel the impact immediately and first from all of the changes going on in the world, from global pandemic to forest fires to heat waves to a rising increase in food costs to a shortage of items, common items even. The ones that are going to feel that the most and first are going to be those on the periphery of society. They're not going to be the folks driving around in Teslas or BMWs, or the people that can afford to go out and buy brand new pickup trucks with all of the options. It's folks that find it hard to pay their bills every month, find it hard to put food on the table, find it hard to find good, safe, secure shelter, find it hard to make it to a doctor's appointment, find it hard to find a job that will pay them a living wage. The people that find it hard to figure out how they're going to pay for all the school fees this year, especially if there are other versions of lockdowns and our education system becomes even more dependent on having access to the latest technology and the fastest high-speed internet. Tell me how you're going to do that. Tell me how you're going to work for all Canadians, regardless of whether they voted for you or not. Tell me how you're not just going to cater to your base or your core or those that are there no matter what you say or do or don't say or don't do, for that matter. Tell me how you're going to help us care for the orphan and the widow and the poor and the prisoner and the immigrant. Tell me how you're going to help us care for and live into right relationship with our Indigenous siblings, our Métis siblings, our Inuit siblings. Tell me how you're going to address anti-Black racism and anti-Asian racism and anti-Indigenous Métis Inuit racism. Tell me how you're going to address the legacy of residential schools and the over 5,000 unmarked graves that have been discovered this summer that all of a sudden just doesn't seem to be in the news at all. There's plenty of issues to go around this year, to go around this election. I'm not too worried about who knew who and who donated what when, what board someone sat on or didn't, and who got appointed or not. I think we've got bigger issues. And I think this is a moment. It's a moment to make some really hard decisions about the type of Canada we want to offer as an inheritance to the next generations. It's an opportunity to make sure we set a course. A course that's different. A course that doesn't try to return back to some kind of normal of pre-pandemic reality, but embraces some things that are familiar and creates a different post-pandemic world. A world where we finally demonstrate what we learned from the last 17 months. And we put those learnings, that wisdom that we've garnished as a people, into practice. And we make sure that everyone feels valued and wanted and included and affirmed in this version of Canada. So my friends, you're going to hear this a couple of more times between now and the 20th. Vote. Get educated. Look for the National Church's election resource that'll soon be up on our National Church website. We'll have links to it on our Trinity United Church website. Read the platforms. Think about the leaders. Think about who you want to elect. Think about the kind of Canada you want to experience yourself and the one you want to pass to the next generation. And then vote. Please vote. Please care enough about what's going on in the world and in our country and in our communities and in our backyards to vote.
Let's join our hearts and minds together in prayer. Living God, our minds get tied up in knots when we try to work out what you want of us. Solomon surely did well to ask you for wisdom. Were the ancients not right to tell their children to seek her out at the crossroads or the city gate, and to steer well clear of her alluring sister Folly? Do you not want us to grow wiser? And then you tell us to follow Jesus, who never did a sensible thing in his life, who gave up a safe life, a secure profession, to speak of love that knew no limits, who told rich people to give away their money, not to him, but to the poor, who goaded the powerful until there was no other possible outcome than the cross, who has said that if we want to be his, it will likewise cost us everything. God, whose wisdom is so deep that it can easily be mistaken for folly, help us to put reason aside just for a moment, to file away the nagging questions in our minds and let our hearts and souls take over. Catch us up in the excitement of something we can never fully understand. Take our ordinary human ignorance and transform it into holy wisdom. May we be wise fools, sacred simpletons, faithful followers on the joyful, liberating, life-giving way of Christ. And so this evening, in the midst of everything that is going on in life, in the midst of everything that would distract us, that cries out for our attention, that might seek to limit us or dissuade us from focusing on that which is truly wise and truly important, we pause for a moment. We take in a deep breath and let it out. We calm our minds. We slow our breathing. We listen to our heartbeat. And we pray for Pearl and Kevin, Vicky and family, Maria and family, Marg and Gord, Jim and Sylvia, Claudia N., Laura B., Donna, Aaron, Jackie H., Joe M., Larry T., Sigvi, Bruce C., Gary G., Ann C., Donnelly and William, Laura H., Marg C., Sarah and Daryl, Alexi, Dina, the Eustache family, Gail Corrigal, Rob N., Maria W., Wanda, Bernadette, R.P., Karen H., We give you thanks that Nina has been found and her family now knows where she is. We pray for those fighting and those impacted by wildfires in British Columbia and around the world. We pray for those who will offer themselves as candidates for leadership in this federal election. And we pray for those who will discern which leaders are the right leaders, the wise leaders for this moment in Canadian history. We pray that we might find a wise way of navigating this fourth wave of COVID-19, and that we might continue to invest in the common good and common health of one another, even if that means we're a little uncomfortable. We pray for teachers and students who are planning a school year that's just around the corner, still wondering what it might look like, how long they'll be together, what will happen if. Be near us, O God, as we seek to be your people in this time and place. Give us wisdom far greater than any one of us might even dream of possessing. For we are your people, seeking to walk in the way of the risen one, embodying a radical kind of love and community that is always expansive, always pulling us, pushing us, calling us to a wider and deeper way of being in the world.
Thanks again for joining with us here at Trinity United Church in Prince George, British Columbia. Every evening we gather together for an experience similar to this one at about 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Between now and tomorrow, when we gather together again, we hope you find yourself in a place where you can be safe, be calm, and continue to find ways of being community. Together, let's invest in one another and in the common good and health of everyone. Let's build community and do so in the wisest way that we can figure out how. And let's join together again tomorrow evening for evening prayer.